Hey guys, Paul here with 𝗕𝗶𝗁 Real Estate at RE/MAX Hallmark. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my buyer's guide, how I work with buyers and what you need to know to get started. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to get more content like this. Okay, let's jump into it. When I meet a new buyer, I typically, suggest setting up a buyer consultation. Now, that has always been historically for me in person, but during COVID, we switched to doing a lot through Zoom, but I have the option to do either one. And this is a sit-down meeting with the buyers so they can really get to know about me, about how my process works to get them the right home, but also to get them updated in almost a crash course on what they need to know about buying. So my process, I always break it down into 4 easy to remember steps. So the first part of my process is I ask a 21 questionnaire with my clients to identify what their needs, what their wants are, and to outline within their budget what they could potentially be looking at. And the next part of that is understanding the market. Now I always say with buyers, there's levels to understanding real estate in Toronto. And if you jump around on this, I call it a pyramid, if you jump around, you may get confused as you travel from one house to the next to understand value in the market in Toronto. And I say at the bottom level is always understanding the Toronto real estate market as a whole, what's going on economically on the macro and micro level. And once you have a grasp of that and whether it's the right time for you to invest or buy into the market, the next step is to learn about the neighborhoods. Right, so learn about what each neighborhood has, what's the amenities, what's there for you, and then to look at the housing. If you jump in too soon and just look at what housing looks good to you, you'll get confused in why one house sells for more than another, or why didn't one get as many offers as the next. So it's important to understand kind of these levels in order to understand, what the value of a house is and what the value is to you. So I remember I always share this story. I once had a buyer who was just starting to get looked. We walked into our first house and he ran to the kitchen and started checking to see if the cabinets worked. And I was like, are you interested in the house? And he said, no, I don't like the house. I don't like the neighborhood at all. I said, then we don't need to check the components of the house. That is what you worry about later. First, we're gonna identify what you need, what you like, and what you want before we start narrowing down, does everything in the house work? Number 3, I find this part of the process is really important, tracking and measuring. This is where you're gonna get the real hands-on nitty-gritty learning about the market. It's going to the properties, reviewing it, critically analyzing what you've seen, and then tracking to see what sold, what happened, how many days was it on the market, how many offers did it get, were there conditions in that offer. By doing this measure and tracking, you'll learn the dynamic of the market. So when it comes time for you to submit an offer, you'll know what to expect. It won't be catching you off guard that you're competing or that you can't put a condition in your offer. Because you've seen what's happened, because I've been informing you, you'll be ready to make an offer when it's time. And the last part I would say is communication. So important in any relationship, through any process, is communication. It's oxygen, it's the oxygen of any relationship. So being able to communicate what your needs are, if you need more information, less information, more exploration, or if there's something that, that's important to you about the housing, that we communicate always about what's going on. I say another important aspect to the buyer process is having a great team. I can't stress this enough. From beginning to end, having a mortgage broker that you can work with to help get you financing and get you pre-approved, that I can be and communicate on the real estate end, having a great lawyer, a designer, that process from beginning to end to make it smooth and easy is to make sure whoever you're working with is has the ability to offer you those components. When I work with buyers, I often have a process about how we start to look. Depending on where they are in their stage, whether you're in the research stage, whether you're in a state that you kind of know exactly what you're looking for. I have to adapt to every buyer that I work with, but ultimately it's about learning about what your needs are and learning the market. And so some of my best pro tips I recommend is we start by seeing everything on the market. When you first get started, you gotta learn. And I think people kind of skip this step and they try and cherry pick, oh, this one looks great online, this one looks great. The thing is, pictures can be deceiving. So you can either see a great house online that looks terrible in person, or see a terrible pictured property online and it looks great in person once you go there and has a great feel. So I tell buyers to really identify what they're looking for and what they need we have to get out there. You have to hit the pavement, you have to see the properties. And I recommend when you start, you see it all, because you'll very quickly learn from the tricks of MLS and the pictures and the neighborhood, what's gonna work for you and what's not. And then once we get to that stage, we can then start identifying more kind of specific properties and get to them sooner, get to them quicker, especially in a hot market. Another exercise I do with clients, and this is usually ones that are looking in several different neighborhoods, is that when you try to jump around from, let's say, an East End neighborhood or West End, or even neighborhoods within the same side of the city, it can get really confusing about what you're getting in each neighborhood in the house, because every neighborhood has a different value. So I always recommend when I get started that we look at all the houses in inventory in one specific neighborhood. By looking at the housing in that one neighborhood, you'll get a pretty good idea and a clear picture of what you can afford and what you're gonna get in that pocket, whether it's based on the year of construction of that neighborhood or based on your affordability. And once you've exhausted the options, you can either rule out that neighborhood or continue to keep it in your search, but you'll have an idea of the value in that neighborhood. And I'll even suggest, one weekend go and explore that neighborhood, and then the next weekend explore another. So you almost physically can separate the neighborhoods in your head. And I find that helps with the learning curve and the process of buying. There's a lot to know about buying. I know that, so if you guys want to get more information about these type of topics or go into deeper dive about some of the things I mentioned, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll create videos on more thorough kind of investigation into these areas. As well as I have my own buyer's guide that goes through all this information in detail that I'll link below in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.